Hey everyone, welcome along to the Redmen Originals Podcast. We are here because, this is what we chose to do with our lives. Liverpool drew a fourth consecutive Premier League game. We're going to be discussing that and some of the good bits and the bad bits and everything in between as well. But yeah, now's then the perfect time to tell everyone about our fabulous new app, where the interest is at its absolute peak, when everyone wants more Liverpool stuff in their lives. Come over and check us out. If you search for Redmen Plus on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store on mobile, and I think we mentioned it last week, but the iPad version exists, but it's coming along. It still needs a little bit more work, but yeah, you can get it. The feedback's been amazing so far. You can get all of our stuff in one place now, finally. All the free stuff, you just watch and listen to the free stuff on YouTube or Spotify or whatever podcasting app that you use, then it's all there. If you are a subscriber or you wish to subscribe to the Plus sections on there, you get all those extra videos and podcasts all in that one place. It's all seamless, it's all beautiful. I highly recommend downloading it. Just have a little mooch around. Like my lad who doesn't really give a shit about football or really anything that we do here. I said, have you seen our app? He went, no, and he downloaded and he went, this is really good. I was like, well, there you go. There's someone who just consumes media, seemed pretty pleased in general with the overall stuff. So that was about as ringing endorsement, ringing an endorsement as you can get in that regard. But yeah, don't just take the word of my son on this. Loads of people have used it so far, are enjoying it so far, and you can be one of them too. Okay, we are going to talk about Liverpool 1, Burnley 1.
Get in.
Get in!
Can't wait.
Come on!
Looking forward to this all day.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Look.
I'd just gotten over it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's look, I don't really know. It's been doing my head in all weekend, and it's been doing everyone's head in all weekend, and it's only serving Chris to further just I bend my head in general, because I wish for some people it's all very clear cut now. For some people it was clear cut a week ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever. But the games like that only serve to sort of cloud my thinking on it, because the weird thing is, I think it's possible to say that drawing at home to a newly promoted side and one that are going to get relegated this season is not good enough. But you can, but it's mad. But you can equally be quite pleased with the football and quite get an enjoyment out of the game in and of itself. Steve put it really well. I was chatting to him briefly upstairs. He was like, "It's not the kind of result that you sack a manager over, but unfortunately, it's connected to so many other things." And so for me, it didn't make it any more cut and dry. It actually made it even more, made it less clear cut in my head. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think Liverpool completely dominated the game, and in terms of performance-wise, Liverpool, and I don't think we've had a problem with this all season long, Liverpool are really good between the boxes in possession, but there's something missing for me, and I can't unfortunately articulate what it is, because I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answers. I don't know what Slot should do to change those fortunes around. Normally I feel like I've got a clear idea at the very least what the manager should be doing or what the team should be doing. But in this scenario, it feels more than just the players on the pitch type of a thing. It feels a little bit more like there's something that's not quite right within the squad when they are, whether that be confidence, whether that be coaching, whether that be personnel, whether it be the profiles of the players that we've got. And I don't know whether it's a few % of all of those things or there's one giant thing that's causing all of those issues. I feel like I've spoken to loads of people who are very clear and think that it's the manager. I'm not there, and I'm not saying I won't get there, but right now I can't see how much more the manager could have done at the weekend apart from make some different substitutions, which I was okay with the substitutions that he made. I'm not okay with the level of performance at the moment. I don't know whether it's a director of football thing delivering the wrong players to the manager. I don't know whether it's the manager not selecting the right players, feeling nervy about things and not being able to go for things. It's just a big shit soup at the moment, and I can't unpick it all.
Yeah, and we've had that all the way along. It's just that some problems have kind of dropped off. Some we've kind of gotten bored of talking about, so they get shuffled to the back of the pack and whatever. I just want to. Well, I guess we'll kind of end up coming back around to the game, but Chloe, I just wanted, for a variety of reasons, family related, I couldn't go to the match at the weekend, so I watched it on the telly, and I walked away. I actually enjoyed myself watching a game of football for Liverpool for the first time in ages. For the most majority of that game, not the result, but the performance. But I was really surprised because I had it on quite low, the volume, so I didn't really hear the noise of the crowd or whatever. When I watched it back this morning, from 75 minutes, Anfield is like really, I can't even quite, tetchy's the word I've been using, but I'm not even sure that quite covers it. I think it's anxious, it's a bit annoyed, frustrated. Yeah, it was. That was quite surprising to me because I didn't feel that myself watching the game. But I understand how we've had this conversation on here previously, that there is a different vibe being in the ground watching Liverpool than on the telly at the moment.
Yeah, but I also think it's just because, this game of football in terms of performance, I actually have probably thought has been better overall than a lot of our previous games. I've sat here after games of football and I've been absolutely bored to death, and that's just how simple it's been. There's been, for the first 60 minutes of that game of football, Liverpool had enough chances to kill that game off. It could have been 3, it could have been 4 if players put the ball in the back of the net. Truth is, there's no ruthlessness, there's no killer instinct, and Liverpool, for whatever reason this season, constantly give the opposition chances and keep them in games of football. Usually it's been, for me, sitting there, it's been really boring and excruciating to watch because it's death by 1,000 passes and you feel like you get nowhere. Where I actually thought for the first half, Liverpool did quite well. They created a couple of chances. They obviously had the penalty. I think the start of the second half, Liverpool should have been 2 or 3-0 up. Cody Gakpo misses a big chance, which Florian Wirtz, creates for him. Frimpong in the first half has one, basically blocked off the line from the back stick. So I actually thought Liverpool for the first 60 minutes did quite well and have enough chances to put the ball in the back of the net. The frustration of the crowd comes in because you've let that opposition stay in that game of football, and we are not killing the oppositions off. Usually we're not creating enough to clear-cut chances to see them off, but this game you did. You created enough chances. But my problem was we went from a team who looked like, we could go on and get the second here, to a team that was then pegged back to 1-1. And from that point, it never looked like Liverpool were interested in winning that game of football. And that was my problem. It was like I could have told you how that game went, and me and Josh spoke about it. Me and Josh went, this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to have about 5 forwards on at the end of the game. It'll be 1-1 and we'll be praying for a last minute winner. You could tell that was the outlook because Liverpool weren't putting their chances away. And ultimately, you get frustrated because that's a side that Liverpool should be beating at home every day of the week. That's just the expectation, the standard of this football club. And Liverpool let them stay in the game. And then, where you need the tempo, the urgency, the desire, all of these things to, I'm going to try and put right what's just happened here. I'm going to go and save Josh and get someone to go and get that winner. It was like we then started playing the game not to lose instead of to go and win it. And that's where my frustrations kind of lied with it. I actually thought the first 60 we were decent. Yeah. It was after they scored that I was then like, we could play all day here and there's no way we're breaking them down.
It's so interesting again. I don't know whether you feel the same on that, Dan. That was not how I experienced the game. I thought we had a little bad patch, which it's funny because I wrote it as 5 minutes. I've seen a lot of people describe it as 10 minutes. Yeah, it's actually 2.5 minutes in reality. It's like 62.5 minutes they get in for that when there's a misplaced pass.
Canate.
And the Canate
which leads to the goal. Yeah. And then there's the second one that leads, and obviously the second one that leads to the goal. And then from that, Liverpool are back on the front foot. So I don't know.
But do you remember any clear-cut chances after that moment? Because I can remember quite at least a handful before their goal. But after their goal, I can't remember.
Maybe I remember
Alexis McAllister taking snapshots from everywhere.
He took a left-footed swinger inside the box, which was stupid. But I saw Frimpong Blaze went over at the back post. Szoboszlai had what I had.
It was more of the same in terms of chances, because a clear cut. Most of our chances, the ones we're referencing, were always of a similar sort of ilk, in terms of there was loads of traffic, there was loads of bodies between us trying to score and the goal.
Curtis Jones, Rakatiki backstick's a classic
example
of that.
Hence all the goal line clearances. Hence why Florian Wirtz's finish was actually so special, because even that had 3 or 4 bodies in the way. Yeah. He had to finish it in such a manner that meant it avoided them.
The Gakpo one early in the second half, like Florian Wirtz was brilliantly, and Gakpo should just,
Oh yeah, there's loads. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it should do better 2 or 3 times, you would say, but I tend to agree with you, Paul, in terms of that. I was actually okay in isolation with the performance. The overall picture, warts and all, is pretty ugly, hence the unrest in the fan base now when it comes to how we're playing and the results and the manager, of course. But I thought we've responded. My biggest issue with the weekend, actually, was your point, Chloe, in terms of keeping them in the game and offering them encouragement, not just in terms of not putting them to bed, but actually on the flip side, because obviously we've sacrificed creativity in the hope that we become more solid and we stop conceding chances. But I felt like it was still quite easy to get through us once or twice, certainly in that little 5-minute spell. Burnley got loads of joy and loads of freedom in the midfield, and they kind of looked at each other and went, well, it's 1-0 and we're playing football a little bit. And then we obviously have our problems and then they score rather. But I think actually our response to that was actually kind of how I thought we would. I thought it was quite okay, and I thought we wrestled control again. Burnley didn't really create anything thereafter, and it was just more of us trying to break down and unpick a really low and quite solid.
I thought we were going to score the winner. I've not felt that in a while.
The momentum of the game definitely was back in our favour, having lost it for 5 minutes.
I'm not denying that. I like I said, I think I don't. Once their goal happened, my problem is that we had all the intensity and everything that actually had excited me for the first time in quite a while before they'd scored the goal. And then once they'd scored, I don't know whether it's recent performances, don't know whether it's this unbeaten run, which isn't actually glamorous.
No, it's crap.
But as soon as they got the goal back, everyone around you went, we'll be hoping for the last minute.
My problem stems from before they scored. And it stems from something I was talking about a couple of weeks ago when, I was saying, like, and I'm repeating myself a lot here over the time, but I really strongly believe it's about how we go and try and win the ball back. And the fact that we're not trying to win the ball back gives them the confidence and the rhythm to be able to start to play. And that happened 2 minutes. We give the ball away. We sit off. They start passing it around. They look around and go, a bit of space here, boys.
Yeah, this is all right.
Dead easy. Because we're not trying to get the fucking ball back.
Yeah.
And they all are buoyed by that. Gravenberch, Canate, switch off to a run. The guy's in behind. Alisson probably should have saved it. Yeah. It's a good finish. It's a well-worked move, but it's far too easy because we're nowhere near any of their players. Yeah. So, and that, what you're talking about, I think, is a results thing. And what I'm talking about is before the fucking goal.
Yeah.
That's when it happened, when we gave them the ball and went, go ahead, lads, play.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that.
That's not right. That's not us. That's who we are. That's our DNA.
They weren't in the game, and then we do an absolute ridiculous pass into one of their forwards. And their away end's not really...
Is that the Alisson pass, sorry?
There's a couple of
Alisson does this every single game.
Yeah, the minute it's constant, isn't it?
But no, the pass that leads to the Canate, we have the ball, and all of a sudden Canate is on his own with a player in our box because we passed there forward the football and said he are running into all of this space. And if that doesn't happen, their away end doesn't go, oh hello, there's something here, there's something to be had. And a couple of minutes later, that's when they get the goal. But that was the momentum shift. It was Liverpool like switching off for a little minute because they've been in so much control of the game. I don't know. I just feel at times you like switch off and just give them things.
Because I felt that initially, but again, I sprint like 50 yards back to go and close them down, and we win the ball back.
Yeah.
And you're like, good. That because I was going, when does this all fall apart? And it was just, and
literally that.
And it was literally, again, it's the next action. We get back in possession, and then it's a bit, it's sloppy, and then we let them in. It's just mad because, we're back to this thing now where Liverpool now need to be 100, like at their absolute peak for every single moment of the game, because the second it eases off, we're getting punished for it. And I know that sounds really straightforward. Well, don't ease off, but like every team eases off. You don't go 110%, whatever. You don't for 104 minutes in a football match. You have to find ways to recover during the footy match. But every time we do take our foot off it,
it's because no one fears us anymore.
Teams sense a bit of vulnerability, don't they?
Teams used to fear us, and even if we were in possession, even if we, like, how many times did we speak last season about the shock factor, where first off it was like we were testing people out, and then all of a sudden we went, "Hiya lads, where are you?" And it was 2-0, and they're like stunned, they're shell shocked by it, they're not expecting that to happen. And I feel like even when we've always been in possession, opposition teams have always gone, my God, they've got Salah doing what he's doing. You know, they've got the engine room. They've got McAllister who can do this. Ryan Gravenberch, who you can't give him any time. And, you know, people walk up to Virgin and they're like, you know, that's just what they're like. Where this season, once teams started understanding you can get at us, there's vulnerabilities here. There is a situation now with the crowd where we're all on edge, which probably puts the players on edge as well. And Liverpool at the moment are giving you I mean, Alisson Becker, we've just mentioned it, he gives an attacking midfielder of the opposition a ball every single game at this rate. I don't know what's going on with his kicking, whether he's scared to use it, maybe a hamstring injury, he's scared, I don't know. But every time that ball, once a game, is going to the attacking midfielders. And it's fine, you can ease off if you have these are the Premier League champions. These can undo you in 2 minutes. The game can be grabbed out of sight, out of mind within the space of 30 seconds because they can unlock you like that. You can never switch off to these. Where I don't think teams are like that with Liverpool. I think teams think we can stay in the game here, and at some point they'll either make a reckless decision, they'll do something like that, or we'll get in the game and we can create this kind of chaos and, you know, worry inside them. And I think that is the main point of the ease, is that we might try and ease off a little bit, but teams then go, right, now's where we can go and get them, because they can switch off a little bit easier. And
I'm sure opposition managers are going, listen, there'll be a point of the game where you get control. Yeah. You know, I'm sure that happens up and down the length and breadth of the country every single game. There's always going to be a spell. You've just got to be on it when that spell arrives. Unfortunately, Burnley were on it in that instance, weren't they, at the weekend? Yeah. But Liverpool just are unable to sort of turn it around at the moment and, you know, fight back against it. But one thing I will say, which is slightly to do with this, is I don't think the players have chucked it in. Yeah. And I think you can point to that this time. And you know, I think that's been the same all season long. They are trying for this manager, which tells you something, I suppose.
Yeah. And I look, my thing on this, because it's so hard, because there's levels to analysis, and the problem is that, and Sloth's been banging this drum about, like, well, we don't concede many chances, and it's like, yeah, cool, but most people don't care for XG. They don't. That's not how they follow football. They follow it for the results and the scores and the goals that do go in, not the ones that may or may not have gone in. And so Liverpool have traded up creativity and freedom of play to solidify things, but they've solidified things in the underlying numbers, but not in the overlying ones. So, you know, you just sound like a fucking crackpot if you're constantly going back to. But have you seen this? Have you seen the stats? And people go, no, I haven't seen the stats. You just drew against the fucking team that are going to get relegated. Yeah. You haven't won at home against any of the teams that are going, the newly promoted, and the team, you know, therefore who are, you know, most likely to be in the relegation fight this season. They're still real things. So it's very hard. It takes a lot more to kind of puff your chest up and go, look, you know, okay, that doesn't matter, because you sound like you sound daft saying, and this is what's been bending my head, because like I say, I watched particularly the first half, but I've said that a few times this season. I thought we were fabulous in the first half. I thought that's exactly how you play a low block, and I saw in letting Wirtz just run the game, what they clearly saw in the summer was like, we're going to have a season of this where everyone defends for their lives against us, and we're going to need to find ways to break teams down. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in Hugo Ekitike, we're going to bring in pace in the fullback areas, and we're going to bring in Florian Wirtz, who's the best in world football right now at doing that. And I saw that at the weekend, and I was like, yes, there we go, that's it. That's what you need to do. And then we drew 1-1, and you're like, Well, it's almost like because it's Burnley, you're almost not allowed to feel or give any positivity to the things that did go well.
It's fine too, but the problem is you're underlined by the fact that we've just drawn the 3 previous games as well. Yeah. You know, and we've drawn 6 of our last 10 in the Premier League or something. That's what it, and that's it. Unfortunately,
we've won 5.
You can look on it on a game-by-game basis if you want.
Yeah.
Fine, but the context is the season, isn't it?
And also,
sorry, I love that. I do love that one. Of like, we all do that one. It's 5 of the last 17 because is that going back to the point where we had the lose, whatever, it's fine.
Well, if you want to take it back further, it's worse for the manager.
Since PSG, there was a thing going around over the weekend, and that's pretty damning, I think it's fair to say.
Well, again, that's bollocks, isn't it? The fucking PSG one, that's...
Honest, that likes bringing it up quite a lot.
No, I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. I know. But yeah. What I'm saying is that 5 and 17 one absolutely discounts the 6 or whatever we won at the start of the season. Is the point I'm making. That sounds horrendous, but it's a very arbitrary number of games to pick, is all I'm saying. But yeah, go on. So look, again, no one's happy. No, I'm not sitting here saying that it's good. But
here's the worst one. We've had 22 games in the Premier League this season and won less than half of them.
Yeah.
That's the worst one for me.
We've only lost...
We've won 10, drawn 6, lost 6 in 22. It's not good enough.
You've worked it out to draw, that's for sure.
Well, and therein is the mad thing for me, is we couldn't draw to save our lives until I think the 12th of December or something like that. And since then, we've drawn 6 games since then. Yeah. And 4 consecutively. Obviously, it swells that number considerably. It's mad. But just on the flip side of this, I think we've only lost one more game than Man City, and they're second in the league, and they're the fine margins at which we're playing in. And again, look, I sound like a fucking crazy person. I'm not trying to fucking brainwash people to say that that was great or whatever, but actually, I did just walk out after the full time of that. I was downbeat because I know the reaction was going to be super negative to it, but I didn't really feel it from the footy. I saw more pathways out of it in that game that I'd seen in a lot recently, because I've seen us play low block teams 1,000 times, and it's very rare that I've enjoyed it as much as that, because I don't think we did still take a couple too many distance shots, in particular as the game wore on. But what we did, particularly in that first half, is I can see how you can do that against any team. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the talent, the way the players were used. I felt positive from it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And the main one being, of course, Florian Wirtz, who is incredibly watchable, if nothing else. I think the tempo was better, certainly in the first half, and you've got to be against a low block team. Certainly one as disciplined as Burnley were, to give them a little ounce of credit while having this conversation, because they did defend well, they did put the bodies on the line, and 1 or 2 really smart positional choices whilst trying to defend was credit to them for that. But yeah, I think it's okay to feel like that performance in isolation was better. But again, you do sound stupid, and nobody wants to hear it, because the bigger picture is so ugly.
That's the problem. We keep having too many. We've had too many this season of that game, as you say, in and of itself is absolutely fine. Yeah. You can have them happen to you, but they keep happening to us. So inevitably you go, well, what's the reason why it keeps happening to us? But the problem is no one knows, so everyone's got their own theory, and unfortunately the common thing that keeps coming back to, because it's football, it comes back to the manager. And I agree with Chris. I don't know anyone. I'm not sure what any manager would have done that was different or better in that one. You could be more lucky. I mean, like, if Dominic Szoboszlai puts a fraction less power on the penalty, we'll never know how the game would have gone off the back of that. But that would have put us in is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've seen them time and time again.
Yeah. You've seen them all this season, mate.
Yeah. The XG was interesting for the game. I know, Chris, you're obviously a bigger fan of this than I am, but
I don't think anyone's a fan of XG, by the way.
You might be. It was quite high, wasn't it? I think it's to the point.
3.18, I think.
But I think, I think if you break that down further, which I know you will have done, it actually per individual moment wasn't that high.
No, there was
31 shots, I think.
32 shots on what I was looking at. So the McAllister chance was actually surprisingly high in terms of the XG. I think it was 0.14, maybe something like that. The Wirtz one that saved when he sort of dukes through the middle was obviously a high chance, but the Rovka comes out and saves it. most of the chances are about 0.04.
Yeah, exactly. So really,
it's a numbers game in that regard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we created 2 big chances on the day, and we missed 2 big chances on the day, unfortunately. And it won't go down as a chance, but the Curtis Jones one where Ekatike nearly gets his toe on the end of it, that was as big a chance for me as any of them, but he couldn't quite get there.
There's a cross from Kerkez in the first couple of minutes to Jones, which you watch it real time, you go, oh, mate, just shoot, and then you see what he's trying to do, and you're like,
I thought he made the right decision there,
the defender could stick that in, like that's, I thought he did the right thing. It goes back to it in terms of that thing of, maybe it's like the standards have become so low that we're just finding things to enjoy, but I thought Kerkez was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. For the first time,
he was definitely made better by Robertson's first 3 touches of the ball.
And the little throwing situation.
Yeah.
What a bad way to enter the field.
I've had a lot of that lately.
2 days after you were talking about maybe getting a new contract with Liverpool.
Comes on and just starts playing right wing for Burnley.
Kanate was playing up top for them at one point.
I'll tell you what.
But
this, if Kerkez crossed it to Kanate, that would have gone in.
But yeah, I thought Kerkez was excellent. I thought we actually got to see. We've been saying for ages, where's this lad who flies down the outside? And well, we did. And it does make a significant difference when we pass it to him in those situations. But it was one of them, Slaughter said in his pre-match press conference, and it was kind of dripped out over a few questions about, I think, and it ultimately Mo Stewart as well, asking him, like, because it was the last question, it's always the one that sticks with you, about more from the midfielders getting into the box, and he's like, we want more of that, we want more crosses, we want more from the byline, and we did that, and lo and behold, we actually look like Liverpool. And I've seen lots of comments saying, it's not Liverpool, it's blah blah. I disagree. That was us, for me, was playing like Liverpool. It was the fullbacks getting up high. Frimpong didn't have a particularly great game necessarily, but he was getting into the positions that you want him to be in. Kirk has much more of doing the same, and yet lads get, being in a position to cause problems inside the 18-yard box.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know neither of them are playing as sort of wing backs in the conventional sense, in terms of we haven't got the 3 at the back to compensate for that. But yeah, if they were, they're definitely more wing than back, because they just want to attack, don't they, the pair of them, Kerkez especially. But I think you're right. I feel like a few times this season I've said, that was the Bournemouth version of Milos Kerkez. But I thought it was exceptional. I thought decision making, delivery, when appropriate, was right as well. So you're really, really impressed with him, and unfortunate maybe not to have a more tangible impact on the game. I think there's 1 or 2 moments and deliveries especially where you think that deserves someone on the end of it or something to follow.
It was inside the first couple of minutes, wasn't it, where he'd done like an underlap and run, and I don't know who was waiting back stick, it might have been Ekatike.
I think it was the Jones
one. Was that the one that you talked about?
Szoboszlai plays it through. He passes to Szoboszlai and carries on his run.
He's going both ways as well to that point.
It's a great ball. He gets unlucky with it. But yeah, I think he's improved a little bit. I mean, that Arsenal game was the one that I was like, I was impressed with that, because you always know a tricky winger might get something out of you. Of course they are, especially the likes of Saka. But he really gave absolutely nothing away in the 2 Arsenal games this season, and the top of the table. He's been brilliant. One of them.
He still has that issue though, where it's like Gakpo, mate.
But this is the thing.
Look how good he's doing. He's like, no.
He relies on Wirtz or Szoboszlai to give him the ball.
Yeah. When Gakpo came off and he put Rio on, I think I said this to you, I was like, he's putting Robbo on, like, just keep Kerkez on, just because they'll use him. Yeah. And he's still flying down that wing. It's just like he's not being used. So when Rio came on, I was like, okay, yeah. When I saw it was for Gakpo, I was like, brilliant, yeah, sure. And then when I then saw Robbo coming on, I was like, why have we changed it though? Like, we didn't need to put Robbo on right now. You could have utilised Kerkez with someone who'll give him the ball a little bit more often. The issue still goes back to it of like, we had this in the Arsenal game as well, Chris, where I think his game plan was fine, and I think it was broadly working quite well in terms of that. You've just got to trust your good players to do good things in small spaces, and you've got to get it wide, and you've got to stretch the defence, and you've got to get balls into the box and hope to cause disruption. Cool. We had players on the bench, but I'm starting to look at it and go, how many of them does he truly think are able to carry the torch? Because that was the Arsenal problem. I think he'd figured a way, and it was all cool with the lads he had on. But we were like, well, who does he take off? Because there's a fear that you're going to lose something in doing that. And I don't think he was fearful in his substitutions at all, because he does make subs. But
there is a little bit of, the Robertson thing. Robertson now isn't what Kerkez is at his best. Kiesa's Chiesa, and now Ekitike's tiring toward the end of a football match, his impact's waning, etc., etc. Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's, despite everything we've done, and some of this will be the lack of Salah and Isak is I guess, excusable in some regards, but yeah, it didn't feel like we were bringing more of the same on. It felt like we were forced to do slightly different or more exaggerated things.
Yeah, I'd say I didn't have too many problems with what the manager did in terms of the substitutions. I would have liked to have seen Kerkez on. I could have made an argument for keeping Kerkez on, but I understand why. I think Robertson's proved over his years here that he's got a fantastic delivery, be that from corners or be that from, just normal crossing situations. So, you can understand why you've put your trust in an experienced professional there. I think, maybe you could have done something with Wirtz and moving him from the right to the left is maybe the only other thing that I could have thought of. Maybe Rio comes on the right hand side and Wirtz moves or shifts across the left hand side, but Wirtz is having such
he's there anyway
and he's wherever he wants to be, that it's okay. I think unfortunately, and it hurts me to say this, like Kiesa's dropped off massively in like the impact that he was having at the start of the season. It's just not there at the moment. It's just like, I've got a sub spot to fill and I feel like I should do it, so I am going to do it.
It's fucking Aspas syndrome, this, isn't it, all over again, where I don't know whether Keys is good enough or not, but if you don't play a lad for half a season, it's mad to expect him to come in at anything like his levels are going to drop off the least football he plays.
As much as I really like Rio, I'm sure Rio's going to have a fantastic fucking career. The impact's not there when he's brought on. He'll scare his man and he'll get into the box, but we're not seeing any end product at the moment, are we? We had that one earlier on in the season. I don't know whether he's had a goal and assist since then in all of the time he's had on the field. So, and that's normal for a 17-year-old. They're not. They are just relying on a little bit of instinct. You're coming into the game. You probably you're heightened in terms of your stress levels because you're being asked to save the team. It's not like he's waltzing on in a 3-0 win and getting to just freely
enjoy
play.
Yourself, lads.
Yeah.
Fucking go with it for us.
And there's so much expectation from the crowd. He comes on and it's Rio, does anything and it's Rio. That's a really tough situation for a 17-year-old to come on into. So he gets a free pass from me, but you want to see your subs have an impact. You want to see you go and improve, and I don't think that we particularly improved with our substitutions at the weekend, and I think that's where the squad is at the moment. I don't think we've got many options that do improve us.
But almost half the problem with that is Rio comes on, and then we've got 3 men around, our men. Robertson's up there, Wirtz goes over there with him, and then Frimpong's on his own, miles away from anyone, and then we do this big crossfield switch to Frimpong and they just settle 3 lads in front of him with no one there. The moments when we got people around Frimpong, we cause problems, but again, goes back to that thing of doesn't feel rehearsed. It feels like it's getting more and more rehearsed in the first 60 of a game, first 70, 75, but we're still not making anything that goes back that the like for like thing isn't working for us as yet, because again, there's not enough like for like.
I just want to pull up something you said there because I fully agree with this. The first half, I thought we looked coached for the first time in quite a few weeks in the final third, and I wasn't sure whether it was because we played Monday night and there was no midweek game and then we were there Saturday, but it felt like we'd worked on what we were doing on the training ground, and that was, for me, was like something I'd forgotten I even had that thought at half time, but I was actually pleased with that. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, yes, it doesn't look like it's just we're trying to make something happen. It looks like we're working on things and it is actually making things happen.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is what go back to his pre-match press conference. Almost everything he said happened in the game, and he was talking about, I can see it getting better on the training. It is getting better. It will get better. So when I saw that in the first half,
didn't have money on one all, did he?
that was why it was. Again, it's just so flattening because I could see a pathway where we're playing really well here. We're getting the goals. The goals are coming. We're going to score the goals. We're going to beat these. We're probably going to beat these 2 or 3-0. And you can walk away going, oh my God, look at all this. But this is the problem, is a few minutes of just switching off. It's a draw. And instead, we're sat here in an absolute fucking mire of misery. And that's on the players on the pitch, is my thinking on that as much as anything else. But then it comes back to it of you expend so much energy playing like that you do need to be able to go to your bench on 60 and go, right, cool, who's coming in? How do we keep this going? And this is the point where you have to say, and it's not as clear cut as it should be. So bear with me on this one, because Salah's been crap this season, and he's actually done nothing for us. But theoretically, they're your two best forwards that aren't there, and so there is that. But we've totally like yada that. You know, like if you took the most expensive number 9,
but if you ask the manager, he'll say next man up.
Oh God, yeah.
So it's not an excuse internally. No, but it's not about be an excuse externally.
But it would be an excuse internally. But the thing is, on that at that period, and I'm well aware. I keep doing my own head in by answering criticisms that I'm hearing in my head from outside sources. Insanity is what that's called. I know it's only Burnley, everyone, I know. So you should be able to beat Burnley with whatever the fuck you've got, because that's the logic of football.
Yeah.
But there aren't many teams, if you took those equivalent players out, who would still be able to do anything that was remotely as fluid as what we were able to put together. And it would be nice to go more. And this is the thing, Liverpool need to be able to be good enough to beat teams without having everything go their absolute way. But that's this season in an absolute nutshell.
I'll be honest, mate. I think we got a £35 million Gakpo, £116 million Florian Wirtz, and £80 million Ekitike, you know, as three of our front players. And I think that is more than enough. So you can cry all you want for Salah and for Isak, but we've got the players in the squad who should be beating Burnley regardless.
Burnley and a few of the other teams we've currently or recently come unstuck against would give a lot to have some of the bench options.
I know. And this is when it sounds, and honestly, and I know how it sounds, but it depends on whether you're in the mood to bash or in the mood to understand. Yeah. And I still would suggest attribute those players to any other team, and yes, you should still be able to beat Burnley. I agree with that. But my point is that this is where Liverpool are at this season. Liverpool actually aren't the super astonishing, all-conquering thing that they've got. So actually, we're not. It would be nice for us to be able to have a little bit more at the moment, because we need it. We're not good enough to beat, clearly not good enough to beat Burnley and Leeds and Fulham right now. So it is worth reminding ourselves that there is
some mitigation.
What should be our two best players or two of our three best players not available for this one. Whether you think it's much better with
Salah in the side, though.
That's the other thing. It's so theoretical, isn't it? Because Isak hadn't got going at all in Liverpool shirt, and the Salah Salah didn't play for that 3 games or whatever it was the week building up to his exit. So
we've had some comments, super chat to come in. Lynn Farrell says, even if Moore wins, I'm so unhappy with the football. It's so not Liverpool. We thrive on energy. Everything is so dull. Needs to change, I fear. Was that, but to that point, because I agree with that point up until the performance of the weekend. Was that a sign that we're seeing more energy and more excitement in the play?
The only thing that, like I said, the first 60 minutes I actually thought was better than a lot of what we've produced in the unbeaten run that we've gone on. My problem is any time this season where I've thought, we might be turning a corner here, the results don't show that. I get my hopes up, and then 2 games down the line, I've gone back 3 steps instead of, progressing and moving forward. So I'd like to say, it's an improvement, and maybe we can get better at this and be more consistent at it for a 90-minute period. However, saying that's all well and good, I can't tell you what Liverpool's going to show up against Bournemouth, and that is my problem, is that I just can't tell you. If this Liverpool showed up against Bournemouth and could actually put the ball in the back of the net with the chances that they have, and the big chances that they have, then you might be. It's definitely easier to win games of football, but from a game to game, I don't know what Liverpool I'm about to see.
My biggest concern around that actually is that the ability to up the tempo and be a little bit more adventurous was there on Saturday, because we were facing, I don't know, is this necessarily true or not, but the lowest of low blocks we've probably come up against so far this season, Burnley at Anfield. Whereas my fear is that there's been a cowardly nature to what Liverpool have done in recent times. That, and I think a few people have said it in different guises in terms of slot, we're playing like a team that the manager wants to keep his job. as opposed to anything else. And when we come up against Bournemouth away, even Marseille in midweek, a team with a little bit more about them, we won't be able to be this continued up-tempo, move it about a little bit quicker, a bit more risk, because we'll be so scared of what happens at the other end. Like, there was so little coming back in the first half, especially against Burnley, that we kind of went, okay, that we can pop it around a little bit. You know what I mean? We're allowed to move it faster. When we face better teams,
but was the Arsenal performance not a good indicator of
not for
being
that.
able to handle that?
Not for that, I don't think.
Handling teams coming the other way.
Coming the other way, yeah, but not if we're talking about us being a bit more the Liverpool way, if you like, and showing a bit more adventure and a bit more bravery. I'm not sure that Arsenal performance would indicate for that, nor Burnley, personally.
I think I agree. I think one of the things that I've sort of thought of is, you think about a bit of like Muhammad Ali and rope-a-dope. You know, I think every team thinks they can handle Liverpool's biggest punches. Yeah. And that's a problem for me right now, because we're not putting them away. It goes right back to the beginning of what Chloe was talking about, where we're not a team that's maybe we're trying, maybe that's not a word. We don't feel like a team that can get 3-0 up in games and put the game to bed. So you hang in long enough, you are going to get an opportunity. And Burnley was a classic example of that, wasn't it? Because our shots aren't big enough to knock them down. We're not getting knockouts. We're going 12 rounds and asking for a fucking decision every single week. You know, and unfortunately, we're coming up with draws every single time. It's really, I think, for the quality of player we've got, not good enough. Because I look at the squad and think we're so much better than where we are in the league right now. Like, in terms of the quality of player available to us today. I just think that we are. You know, I think, I don't know how many points it is, 3 off 12th or something. There should be a gap between us and the rest of them based on quality of the players that we have at the moment. And for me, it's the manager's job to extract the best out of the players available. And I don't think right now we're getting the best out of our available players.
100% agree with that, by the way. Because I've seen a few people use the transfer market, what happened in the summer, the players available to us right now, you know, excuse, if you want to use that word. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it at all. I think there's far more at his disposal than what we're showing in terms of results and performance.
Look, you can make anything work, I think, is the point. You know what I mean? You can scrap and you can engineer more wins, I think, with what we've got. I think that's possible. I do think there's a shit ton of bad luck that's kind of gone against us in the same instance. But I also then go back to my same point of, yes, but there is also that degree to which, if only, no one expected the precipitous fall off of Mo Salah in all this as well. If you'd known Mo Salah was going to be this shit, they'd have sold him in the summer and probably bought someone better, and we'd be in a better position. Whereas right now we're carrying our two of our three biggest wage earners have had next to no impact on the football team this season. So I think Ekitike is really good. I think he's been a real shining light, but I also don't think he's meant to be our starting centre forward. I think he was bought as a rotational option and we're doing quite well with him. I think Wirtz is coming to the party, thankfully, at the right time, and I think we're starting to see what he is. I think we're starting to see Frimpong. I think we're starting to see Kerkez. But I agree that we do look light on our biggest punches aren't landing, but also the two guys that we own who are the pure goal getters aren't available to us right now. So I am sympathetic of that, and I think it's easy to say, well, you spent £80 million on Ekitike, cool, great, you know, and they spent £115 million on Wirtz, is right, but it doesn't. Both things can be true.
Yeah, what you've got to consider is Liverpool chose to do a lot of the business.
Yeah, that's
and I thought that was a sign.
Tie behind the back for Liverpool to do this.
And I thought that was a sign of, okay, well, we're building for what happens after Mo Salah.
Yeah.
That is what I thought all of this was. We couldn't do, you know, you mentioned the right winger there. We couldn't fit it all into one summer, maybe. We certainly tried to get a centre back in the summer. We just left it too late. But we weren't going to go for a right winger. Maybe that was somewhere down the line because, well, all of this should, you know, it wasn't supposed to be Mo Salah gets 40-something goals again. It was supposed to be, well, Alexander Isak will probably get 20, Hugo Ekitike, maybe we didn't think he'd do this well, but, you know, 10 to 15, Gakpo 10 to 15, Florian Wirtz, you were hoping would come up with something. We still have goals from that midfield, Szoboszlai when he plays, and, you know, we know what he can do and where he can hit it from. So, you know, I thought, yeah, I get what you mean. No one could, expect the drop-off of Mo Salah. But I thought that this was us basically transitioning, going, it's not all on him anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has been all on him a lot of the time. And I thought that's what it was. And we can mention Alexander Isak, and look, I am absolutely devastated that he got injured, because I was really hoping that those couple of goals were gonna, give him a little boost. But ultimately, he did play for a significant amount of the season, and I saw absolutely, we couldn't even get him into games of football. Never mind get him in goal-scoring opportunities and positions. So for me, I get it, but I still think there's far more than enough quality there for Liverpool to, be seeing off games and teams like Burnley. It's just that simple.
Look, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying that's not the case.
No, but there are a lot of people out there saying this team needs X, it needs Y, it needs Z. And whilst that may be true, I think in the here and now, and also we've known all season long that Mo Salah wouldn't be around for this bit of time anyway. So we've always got to
use it as an excuse.
Exactly, especially when you're given what went on before, i.e. being dropped, and obviously the saga and the bombshell that was. Chloe's right. Isak, we've seen no real signs of the real Alexander Isak.
I don't even know how we're playing. I don't know what he's supposed to. Yeah, I don't know what he's supposed to be looking like in this. He's not supposed to be what Ekatike is doing, because Ekatike is different. And I love Ekatike, but my problem is I also hate the idea of when the season starts again, or when Alexander Isak is back fully fit, everyone will sit here and go, Alexander Isak has to start, but Hugo Ekatike is the one who has impressed me the most.
My thing is more on
what
this,
he's doing.
as I think in seeing how good Wirtz has become now. His last 10 games, I think, is the player that we all expected us to buy. And I could easily see him being twice as good as that by the end of the season. Yeah. The next 10 games, he could get even better, which is staggering. And I look at who he's playing the ball to, and you can see that relationship with him and Ekatike now starting to form. And now the centre-forward thing makes sense. Yep. Because Frimpong's finally fit on the right-hand side, and we're actually passing the ball to Kerkez the way that he's supposed to be passed, and that sort of makes sense. But it's that thing of, it would be interesting to see, we're going to do a bit on Salah in part 2, so I don't want to tread too much on it. It will be interesting to see what happens if and when Salah does come back, and it would be interesting on the Isak thing of, if he was fit now, to see him with a Wirtz that's finally figured himself out a little bit more. And because my point is just, who's Wirtz passing to? He's got Ekatike to pass to in front of him. There's a world where he could have Ekatike, Isak and Salah, and we've not even seen a sniff of that yet, because every time Ekatike's got on the pitch with Isak, he's either got injured within 5 minutes of that happening, or it's been the closing stage of the games and Isak's not been up to form and fitness. So hopefully there's more from that to come.
In theory and on paper, that's really exciting, and I was really looking forward to the prospect of it. However, what I will say is that understanding and relationship, I don't think necessarily has been built by playing together nor training together in terms of Wirtz and Ekatike. It just seems like they've just got it a little bit, that they just seem to understand football together and just want to be.
It seems to be coming half a season in, you can't. No, it's definitely not.
But how much
training
football?
And playing together.
Granted, no. But I don't know. There's just something about the two of them. They just seem to be on the same wavelength. Yeah, there's really is just that. And I know Ekatike spoke about him last week. He said he just smells football.
He's a striker and runs in front of me.
Possibly, but even the goals midweek against Barnsley, that was evidence of just knowing where each other wanted to be and the runs they were going to make. And that, how many times have we heard, strike partnerships? No, there isn't that in the same sense. But talk about that just natural instinct of understanding.
Was it Wirtz who played the ball into Isak when he scored his goal and got injured?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was last time, yeah.
By the way, talk about how good Florian Wirtz is. There is a ball into Curtis Jones inside the box that no one on the pitch is ever expecting that to happen. It's unbelievable by Florian Wirtz, but because it's so good of a pass and an idea, not even Curtis Jones is expecting this ball, but it is a sensational pass, and we'd have cut them open if Curtis Jones could have got a shot away or anything if he was expecting it. But like you mentioned there, it's getting everybody on the same wavelength of realising this lad's this good. He's finding things that not even yous are aware of. So it's really Curtis Jones just wasn't on his tiptoes ready for this ball to come into him in the box.
We've had one of them before. It was Yari Lippmanen. He was 10 steps ahead of everybody on the pitch, unfortunately. He was playing a different game to everybody else. And you're can everyone just play Yari's game, please? Because it looks well better.
But it's that was the thing, because you mentioned, I'd almost forgotten that Wirtz was meant to be our right winger, because he wasn't. At no point did he ever, like, you looked at his touch map, they brought his touch map up on the screen, and it was a Florian Wirtz touch map. It was to say, this half of the pitch is my playground. Whoever wants to come and play with me is welcome. Come on, we're going to have a great time. Honestly, genuinely, like, who wants the ball? Go on, who wants it? I'll pass it to you. Great. Yeah. Any chance you can pass it to me back? Cool, brilliant. Let's have another go at this. And he's stunning, isn't he? Like, absolutely, totally an absolute stunner of a football. And you're right, there's a couple of moments, and there's one in the second half, and I have got no idea what happened. He was on the edge of the box, and he did something. He just like waggled his body, and he was through, and he was behind their defensive line and into the box, and I like gasped, like I've just like, there's been a shock plot twist in like this great drama that I've been binging, like just out of nowhere, and you go, God, like just.
Do you know what he's got? Pinball flapper feet. Those pinball machines where they go, dum, that's what his feet, like, they fucking, and he's through past 3 players.
I was watching it with Bobby in the other room, and I was like, his feet are paintbrushes. He can literally, there was one, and it was a nothing touch of the ball on the right wing in the first half.
Oh, round the corner.
He cushioned it with like the top of his ankles. It wasn't quite outside the boot, but it was like high up, and it was just.
He bent it round. It was a vertical pass.
Was that the one to Frimpong? The one to Frimpong in the second half is an absolute joke.
But this is Chloe. This is the ball got played to him, and he first time like
it was around the corner.
Yeah. And you just like, I honestly, like, Thiago had that, but I always described Thiago as a bit like a world class tennis player with how he played.
Floating.
He always had like great strokes
Federer.
to it. Yeah, genuinely like. But yeah, he's just an artist, isn't he? He's like minute in his detail, everything about the ways he invents new ways to move footballs. It's
the first time past the Frimpong is absolutely incredible, which gets Frimpong in behind. And I think Curtis Jones has a shot that's blocked from that. And people in the Annie Road then were like, I think they gave up, because from their perspective it was like, oh well, that's probably put too much on it, that's a really hard pass. And then you saw Frimpong get on the end of it so easily, and you were like, wow, what a bit of quality. But I really don't think the Gakpo chance and what he does for the Gakpo chance is being highlighted enough, because he just waltzes through their entire defence. Like, he's stumbling, and he's somehow like hits it the wrong way as he's falling to Gakpo. It would have been an incredible assist. He was robbed of it, but like, honest to God, he's so good.
Can I just ask on to Boz Live before I get through the rest of the super chats? I haven't seen this because my timeline's been so washed with just general misery. My dad mentioned this to me while I was around from dinner yesterday, that he's seen a lot of like criticism of Szoboszlai post-match, and I think, Dan, this is tied into the mistake against Barnsley in the cup as well, with him then missing a penalty, of being a bit arrogant, or not being committed enough or whatever. I didn't get any sense. I thought the Barnsley thing was fucking stupid, but also like,
I think he'll know that more than anyone.
Yeah, and Ali have clearly he's been told it clearly by everyone else in the dressing room, but I'm not sure the penalty. I just think he just tries to put a top corner.
I thought, before you answer, I thought people said he was like slowing the game down or something, is what I was reading. I didn't really read much onto the penalty.
No, I saw more negativity towards his general demeanour, attitude, arrogance is probably the words I saw most.
Did you see arrogance from him, or are you saying this is what you saw from Twitter?
From the comments and the general discourse around him. I'm not ever going to question Dom Szoboszlai's commitment to the cause, given the fact that he's basically put us all on his shoulders all season long. So I think if he has had a slightly dodgy week, i.e. the mistake and the penalty miss, I think he can be forgiven. Probably one of the few he could be forgiven that, to be honest with you. I do think there is a bit of a swagger about him, whether that's justified or not, given the doldrums that Liverpool are in now. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, he does play with that chip on his shoulder, confidence type vibe, and I think this week he hasn't really
It's worked against him this week.
It might have worked against him this week, but again, bigger picture-wise, he's been exceptional whilst the others haven't. So the penalty was one for... It's really hard to score a penalty if you're Dom Szoboszlai, because it only goes one way.
So, I did Bobby say he only ever kicks it to that side.
Literally,
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But
Literally
he
that
usually
same
nettles
corner.
it in the bottom
That's
corner,
the thing.
not the top.
You
Yeah.
have to start mixing up again, because the keeper's going that way.
Mate,
So,
sorry, if he can only hit it one way from a pen, find someone who can hit it both ways.
but his record was exemplary.
That's his first. Was that first missing 20?
Yeah, something silly. Yeah, so he kept scoring them. So there was never a doubt in my mind it was going to be him. But disappointing week for Szoboszlai. Again, a couple of moments, but generally speaking, I'm not going to start.
Because I wasn't sure it was going to be Szoboszlai, because he was the one who stood
Guarded
on the
the ball
spot
as
with the
well.
ball. And I was with Lee, and I was like, I don't think it's going to be Dom, because he's holding the ball, and we always have someone else there who
Who
holds
did
the
you think?
ball. I couldn't work it out.
Okay.
I was just like, that's not what we do. What we do is we put someone else with the ball there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're
And
not getting pecked by the defenders.
Yeah, and
where
Mo
the
normally
penalty,
goes and clears his head somewhere else and comes in and grabs the ball last minute.
Some
I'm
will
going
from
to
now.
absolutely web it at the goal this time. Cool, Mo.
So all they, like Dom or Hendo in the past and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, they're protecting the spot as much as the person, aren't they?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
people come up and rough the spot up and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was
To do it all
a bit
themselves.
like, I don't know who's taking this.
If Maka was on the pitch at that time, who do you reckon takes it?
I still think it would have been Dom.
You do?
Yeah, I
Did
do.
he take the one in Inter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
well,
did.
there you go, yeah.
His record, like I say, is really, really impressive.
I
but-
was it was a little part of me that thought, I was hoping Ekitike would be on it, because I just think there's just something to...
A striker taking
Yeah, exactly. Give the striker
Yeah.
the pens and just have done with it, really, because there's a reason. I know it's a dead ball, so it's different from the instincts and all that required to be a goal scorer, a regular goal scorer, but just makes logical sense, right? The guy whose job it is literally to kick it in the rectangle, give him a free opportunity to do it. But anyway, maybe next time, but probably
It
not.
wouldn't be Gakpo because it's too central for Gakpo.
You have to touches. Just to cut it inside.
Start his run up from the corner of the box, like, Cody, what are you doing?
Someone just did the Arsenal thing where someone just knocks it to one side for him. We love that.
Yeah, 100%. So the goalie just walks to the far corner, stands there waiting for it to come. Sad. Oh, humour. Oscar Wilkins says, if we are to twist, we'd like to see Inzaghi get a look in. Intense passions and interesting style of play. Is he in Saudi at the moment, or is he?
I'm not sure where he is in the moment.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't really care, to be honest.
I think he did go to Saudi, didn't
Left
he?
field call.
I don't know whether he was still there, though.
I'm not sure if he's still there.
Jack will be able to let us know. John O says, Wirtz form improved knowing Zabi is coming. Yeah, absolutely. And he says, club's already made a call on Slot. No new contract, no January backing, writing on the wall. Zabi will be our manager after this season ends. We've been having a bit of chat about the director of football thing this last week, Chris.
Yeah.
And the January signing thing, I'm not sure. I think a standard logic would follow that of like, well, I think I even said it to you, like, well, do you reckon it's that? Because why would you be buying players for a manager if you think you're going to change things? And you said, well, isn't the point of a director of football that you make signings that should be independent of whatever your manager's doing? So, yeah, if Liverpool are going to make signings, do you think Slot's position has any impact on that?
I don't think so, but I could understand if someone wanted to argue the other way, because, you know, my understanding of a true director of football is that you make those signings for the next 5-6 years and the manager is brought in to play with the squad that you've got. So I think if Liverpool were to see an opportunity to get better, they would do that in any window. I think they'd always have some wiggle room to be able to push through an opportunistic signing. I think that's what Liverpool have been about the last sort of 10 years, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it would say to me that the player that they want is out of reach because of potentially wages that are being paid by another football club down the M62, or he's not available right now, the player that they want.
Which we've been doing for years.
Disappointingly, yeah.
But says, lads, a couple of questions for you. One, what is the length of the contract left for Hughes and Edwards?
18 months.
Yeah, I mean, I only know that because it's cropped up over
Paul
the
Joyce last night.
Yeah.
Paul Joyce did a report last night that included that information. 18 months to pair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how that. I mean, like,
Same as Slot.
Yeah. I mean, they do
All
different
went
jobs.
quiet on the slot
Funny that.
contract thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was, bit of a mad one. This like maybe it fits into the conversation we were having at lunch last week about the director of football. Like, I'm just putting it out there the way that I sort of see it, right? But I posed the question to everyone. Dan, you weren't there, where you were ill last week and stuff. But I had this sort of thought during a deep dive show last week of like the director of football and the manager, and if every club moves towards a director of football model, how do you know it's not your manager? Or it's how do you know if your director of football is any good at their job?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, is the manager the first person to fall if the director of football is shit at their job? Yeah. Like, on the surface of things, Rich, and it wasn't actually a Liverpool thing that I was bringing to the table as much as I played into that at the dinner table. But like, if let's say Richard Hughes is shit at his job and isn't buying the players that Slot actually wants, what can the manager do?
Yeah,
like it's a mad dynamic. At least with the manager thing in English football, you know who's to blame.
Yeah.
You know, you bought those players and we're shit. You're gone.
Yeah.
You could reel through 3 managers before you find out it's your director of footy you shit.
Yeah.
So how's that work?
It's like how my laptop keeps blowing up. It takes you 3 laptops before you realise it's your power lead. That's been the problem all along. It's quite an expensive set of mistakes to make when it probably is a damn sight cheaper to boot the director of football.
I again, there's a lot of people out there who watch NFL, so they'll understand this. But when you go into the NFL draft, there's a couple of schools of thought. Mostly, you know, you've got positional needs. So you go in there and you go, right, I need a cornerback. I'll get a cornerback. But there are some GMs out there who go, I'll get the best player available no matter the position. Now, looking at Liverpool's last transfer window, you could look at that and go, Liverpool have got the best players available at every position, but did it fix your needs in the squad? Did you get what you really fucking needed, which was probably a couple of centre-halves and maybe another midfielder, as well as yada, yada, yada? And that, for me, is, again, another really interesting aspect of, does the director of football really work? Or do you need them to be a perfect team? Because I think Edwards and Klopp were a perfect team. And I think if you get the GM and the head coach right in American sports, I think if you get the director of football and the perfect manager or head coach to work together, then it can be a brilliant relationship. But if they're on different pages all the time, it actually ends up probably hurting you more than you'd hope.
Yeah.
Again, it's not,
which we don't know is that. Well, that's not to say that's Liverpool you're talking about.
Yeah.
No.
I just thought it was interesting. Thought that I'd had.
Yeah, Barth continues. A few months back, Dan had asked for an inquisition into how our previous manager was sanctioned all that money to buy Nunes. Wonder if what the verdict is in on that. Asking for a well-rested, re-energised German friend. I mean, I don't really understand the question if I'm being 100% honest.
I was hoping you might.
No, I don't get it. Sorry, Barth.
So Dan, did you say a few months back?
How was... Yeah, do you know what? Actually, maybe I do. It kind of nicely come off the back of what you were saying, because I think we felt like Jurgen Klopp had earned a lot of say in terms of what we did in the transfer market, as opposed to a wider overarching recruitment team with Michael Edwards, because he wasn't in situ, neither was Julian Ward, and we brought in Yorksmadke for a little bit, which was kind of Jurgen Klopp just saying, I like that player, go get that player. To go and do the business for him. So, and Jurgen Klopp, I think it's well documented now, I don't think we're speaking that turn, he was the one who kind of put all the eggs in the Darwin Nunes basket, and maybe we'd given him too much carte blanche for which to do that, and I don't think that's... we sold Darwin Nunes.
I guess so. to analogise it a touch, because it's me, the George Lucas makes Star Wars and he gets his head burnt out with it. No, but
I was really hoping that I was going to understand this one.
George Lucas makes Star Wars, but he has so much studio involvement with stuff that off the back of it, he's so burned out by working with studios and having people tell him how to make the thing that he wants to make, that from then on he basically refuses to work in that system anymore, and that's how you end up with Star Wars fans, the prequels, which are totally George Lucas going, here's a script on a piece of paper, go and make this film, instead of someone going, let's do 10 run-throughs on this script and make sure it's good. He becomes the total end-up because it's a snapback reaction to being stressed out by other people having too much say. And the question, maybe to spin out of this, is if Jurgen has been given too much power, and actually Michael Edwards and Julian Ward and co, they leave by all accounts because they're having their sort of, say, maligned a little bit in this. They're back in charge. Have they created the exact opposite situation where the director of football is totally all-powerful, and Chris is right, the manager doesn't get a great deal of say in any of the signings that get made? Now, of course, we'll have to take it on face value because it's dishonest not to. Slot is quite adamant that that's not the case, but you know, we just don't know because we don't hear from Hughes, do we? You know,
the line is always you won't get given a player that he doesn't want.
Yeah,
you can.
That's not the same as saying he gets all the players that he wants.
Exactly.
I think Jurgen was quite forthright, certainly in the early days, about his relationship with that side of Liverpool in terms of the recruitment side of it, in terms of his input and his say, and there was definitely some input and say, more so than I think Arne Slot admits to right now, but he seems quite happy with his lot as well at the same time, doesn't he? He's not kicking off or saying, I didn't want X, I didn't want Y, why do we sell him, why do we sell him? But yeah, I don't think the question nor the original point is wrong. I think Klopp did end up having too much say, and nobody loves Jurgen Klopp more than me, but I think that's also accurate. Like
Ian Graham said in his book that you shouldn't judge a manager on his signings in his first two years. You should judge him on years 4 and 5, because in the first couple of years it's all the analytics departments.
There you go.
And in 4 and 5 the manager's done a good job because he's still around 4 and 5 years in, and he's got more power.
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously Slot said about they were aligned on what they needed.
Well, by the way, did we sign Nunes? It was probably his 4th or his 5th, wasn't it?
7th,
maybe after that.
7th. Yeah.
Naby Keita might have been 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
He'd taken full control, I think, by the time. I mean, again, we know he was at Darwin's Klopp signing.
The managers, I don't think the managers have got the time to be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing for me, questioning the director of football model. A head coach might come in and go, yeah, do you know what? With all the media duties that I've got to do and everything else, I can't run a 500-person data analytics team spread all across the globe.
Got Padlet to the Klopp as well.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but it's true. It's true. No, but it is. The enterprise grows too big, and football's grown too complex for all that. Like, but I mean, again, we just don't really fully understand the director of football stuff in this country because it's never been quite done the same way as it's been done in any other sports. But also, even on the continent, it's a bit more prevalent in like German football. It's a bit more accepted.
Does the media in Germany, director of football, do the media
but
stuff?
But also, the structure is director of football, coach.
Yeah.
Can you say that's the case here at every club, or does it feel like a lot of them are sort of side by side? And there's no like
the truth of it is that you've got to have a great analytics department, and you've got to have a world-class scouting team put around you, because you can't possibly put the trust in anyone without that manager or director of football. And so the director of football's got to have a great team around it, of which the manager should add. And that's all what Klopp was doing. You know, Klopp was the guy who had this, and it was mentioned in Ralph Honigstein's book about him, Bring the Noise, and he says, and I forget the name of the guy who was his director of football, maybe it was at Mainz or Dortmund, but he said Klopp just had that ability to walk into it and look into the whites of a person's eyes and determine whether they had what it takes to like run through brick walls. And he just had that as it was like a superpower, and that's what he brought to the table in those sorts of conversations. And again, when it's not working on the pitch for Liverpool, you realize. For me, I realize how little I know. I don't know enough about Slot or his coaching team or Richard Hughes, and then you realize, well, I know. I do study this quite a lot. How much more is public knowledge, you know, without actively knowing or being in the room, how much more is there to know about all these things? Because, yeah, it's and that's when, in the absence of information, it's easy just to go for like,
it's his fault.
Yeah, and boil it down to simple things, because we can wrap our heads around that. Saka manager, get a new one in. That makes pretty safe sense across football, doesn't it? One last super chat before we take a break. John O, back again, says, it's a sackable offence when you have the fan base worried about Michael Carrick's Man United knocking us out of the Champions League spots. Are we worried? I'm not worried about that.
I'm worried about not making the Champions League spots.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not?
Not at all.
Mate, we've been shit and we're fourth. I mean, if we only...
We've improved and we're fourth.
Yeah.
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 There's a
Like,
gaggle
But
of teams.
we've improved to a level that's still shit, and we're still fourth. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we don't, it'd be fucking wild, and it absolutely would be a massively sackable offence. But like, have you seen how? If this is how shit you'd have to be to get, and you can to be in fourth, then I think we'll be dead. I think we'll be comfortably in fourth by the end of the season.
I don't know, man.
We're like
pretty favourite.
I know it's easy to say this because you can do this from the flip side of this as well. But like any of those last couple of games, if we'd managed to squeak wins out of those last two, we'd be like 3 points behind City. City are fucked as well. You know what I mean? Like I think there's a lot of shitness going on around us, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but for all of that logic, the other teams have closed up on us.
Yeah. I know. But
so we've lost ground on the teams.
What I'm kind of saying is City are supposed to be fucking in the title race, and then
so are we.
No, but they actually,
champions.
No, but they actually are. You know, like we've written our.
But are they?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is that City? Everyone's been looking at City and going, "Oh, well, City are this and that." We've for months saying we're nowhere near as good as Man City, and even Man City are half shit. So like, I
didn't think there was anyone.
Yes, I'm worried. I'm not. I'm genuinely not worried about us finishing in the top four. I think it's wild to think that we're going to finish anything less than that.
Yeah, good.
Shitbags. So I'll say
It's got mirrors on the car. Like. Just checking the mirrors.
Yeah, but it's like my mum in the passenger seat. If you just look at the wing mirrors constantly, you'd be like, oh, there's danger coming. That's fine.
All right, fucking put your eyes on the fucking big wall ahead of us, Paul.
We're not worried about the big wall ahead of us. We're worried about Man United running us down. What are you doing? Right, sound break from us. We're going to do Salah's return and a bit on transfers. I'll laugh that off when we return.
Hello everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I am here to tell you about this incredible giveaway that we are doing for our legend subscribers on Redmen Plus. This is Craig Johnson signed Crown Paint shirt. It is absolutely glorious. Every single month we give away something to our legends on redmenplus.com. It's a great way of showing your support for the channel. It's a great way to get closer to us as well, because you'll be in the Discord group and there's loads of other benefits, merchandise, discounts, all that type of stuff. But the big one for me would be this. It would be the opportunity to get into the prize draw for these incredible signed items. Craig Johnson Crown Paint shirt signed by the Liverpool legend. Join up this January as a legend on redmenplus.com. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, has everyone got a drink that they just can't touch because of bad experiences with it? Vodka and Coke, lemon sips for completely different reasons.
Whiskey and red wine.
Shit mix.
Paul is there. He knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Can't drink whiskey or can't drink whiskey or mix it with red wine. Go ahead. Chris took a swig and immediately vomited. It was fucking absolutely amazing.
Whiskey's grim though, isn't it?
Especially mixed with red wine.
Well, granted, yeah, but whiskey on its own
Whiskey makes me weepy.
bad.
It's not,
bad stuff.
Doesn't suit me. That's all whiskey.
Same.
Oh God, Man United are catching us. You on the whiskey ball?
Yeah, that's when you'll know. That's when you'll know. If I lose my nerve, it's because I've been drinking whiskey. Right, okay, yeah, Mohamed Salah, more AFCON heartbreak for Mo. Not even winning the third place playoff, ultimately. I mean, that was one of those moments I saw this. Daniel, I'm sure you'll have seen this in terms of the socials. When they got knocked out by Senegal, how many people were like, oh, well, he's coming back. It's like, no, he's not. How many times do we have to go through this?
I fell for that.
Fucking hell. There's a fucking third place player. There's always been a third place player. Because he's always in it. he's always plays that extra game. Yeah, it's a pity because it looked like he'd kind of been dragging that along. When you do see the starting 11s of some of the teams in that competition, you do go, God, it's astounding that he's ever been able to get anything out of that Egypt side. But yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, he's been a crap season, but I really feel sorry for him. It would have been nice to see what would have happened if he'd been able to get them across the line and maybe how that would have impacted him again.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the most he ever wanted it as well, given what had gone on just prior to his departure for AFCON. Both in terms of obviously his Liverpool time and what was going on in terms of the media as well. I'm sure he was desperate to come back with a nice trophy, but it wasn't to be. He was actually quite good as well through the tournament, scoring goals, having a major impact on games, and just looking quite sharp and quite at it, and seems to be enjoying himself. So yeah, shame for him once again not to get that monkey off his back, as it were, in terms of the AFCON for Egypt. But yeah, hopefully he can come back refreshed. I'm not entirely sure that's how it's going to be. But it's going to be fascinating to see what happens, because it was left in such a weird way that I just don't quite know.
Slot started to talk about it now, though.
I know, last week he brought him up.
Changed this tune a little bit.
And he wasn't really asked either, from what I can remember with the question in the press. We just kind of brought him into the conversation.
It was like, no, I think he actually was, wasn't he? I'm
About
sure.
Salah specifically?
Yeah, because he said
availability.
No, I think he was, or maybe it was a round thing on availability, because he did just say about. I think he was asked about the Salah. Would it be any issues? And I think he said we had conversations and it's between us. Even if we had 15 forwards available, which we don't, I'd be welcoming him back.
I think you went on to sort of say that, but I don't think it was initially put
If you want to
him.
talk about unprompted in slot press conferences, how much he's shagging the FA Cup in them press conferences right now is astounding. And he's not. He's name dropped it about 3 times or 3 or 4 times his life. But you couldn't be more setting up a big neon sign that says, "I am desperate to win the FA Cup this season." But yeah,
could he put the Champions League just slightly above that for me, please?
I mean, I'm not saying at the exclusion of mentioning the Champions League.
No, but I think for some reason, Look, the reason I think that Liverpool will struggle in the Champions League is due to English teams. I'm not quite sure he's quite understanding the grasp that all the big English teams are also in the FA Cup.
Right, no, actually we're all right. That was one of the games we were quite good in.
Yeah.
I'll have a bit more of that. It's going to be interesting, Chloe, to see what happens with Salah, really, because is right. We totally put this on the back burner. You know, it's amazing how much football has moved on and life has moved on since then. But we were having conversations of like Salah's played his last game for us. That Brighton game was going to be his farewell. It didn't look like there was a pathway back for him. It looked like they've reached some sort of equilibrium. He comes on in that game, doesn't he? You know, and that's. Which was quite shocking. It was a Gomez who goes off.
Yeah,
and he
early on.
And he comes on early doors for
it was probably the wrong sub. Probably was.
Yeah. But, yeah, we really haven't got an idea of what this kind of looks like, first and foremost. Are we just going to see this all come back to the forefront? You'd like to think that him and Slot have come to some sort of agreement of what his role is going to be when he does walk back into the training centre.
Yeah, because we just don't need anything else like that to happen again, to be honest. It was great to be chaotic for that little period of time. Really enjoyed the fact that they did that when Liverpool were playing so badly as well. But right now, you've just got to hope that, time's gone by. They haven't had to be in each other's spaces so much. There's been someone there who's been in the middle and found a happy medium, and we can all get on with it. Because honestly, the most important thing is that Liverpool get back to their best, and to do that, you feel like Mo Salah has to get back to his best, and Slot has to get back to where he was last season, and in terms of being able to tactically change games of football and get his ideas across. So you kind of hope that Salah coming back will re-energise the squad a little bit because he is a leader. He's a massive voice in this entire dressing room. The problem that I've got is that he's came home without not even a bronze medal. So, it's tough for him to come back and then have to,
He's watched Sadio Mane win it again
exactly.
as well.
It is, that'll be tough on him.
Hey, but there's a good advertisement for him of Sadio Mane can still win the big trophies whilst basically winding his career down as well.
Let's hope for your left, Mo. Let's hope for you.
The other thing is that, every other time I felt like it's just been Mo Salah and then Egypt on his back, where he at least had Marmouche this time, do you know what I mean? Yeah. He actually had someone.
Players who miss pens.
Yeah.
Sadly, yeah. It's going to sting that.
More than anything. It's
not going well for Marmouche.
Didn't he lose the final last time around for not taking a pen?
Yeah, he was a 5th penalty taker.
Yeah.
And what was the one where there was lights in his eyes?
Was that World Cup?
I think that was a qualifier, I think, yeah.
Well, either way, the only thing I can guarantee is that when he does step back on the pitch, he'll get a good reception from being there, which hopefully, that will give him a little bit of a lift.
Are we convinced that it's all settled? Well, because there's still about 12, 13 days left in the transfer window.
Well, this is what honestly, I think we'll find out this week, won't we? And because whilst watching the match at the weekend, a little part of me was thinking, this is all good.
On the right.
Well, no, but again,
Normally.
Wirtz, it's like, what do you do? What are you shuffling around? Because I think Wirtz can do what he did from any position on the pitch, but you do need to balance that out somehow. So there is a world where Curtis Jones didn't have a great game. You just move Wirtz into Jones's position. Salah can come in on the right. You keep Gakpo there, or Gakpo's been in and out. You move Wirtz back to the left, Salah back to the right, etc. It made me feel really anxious again because I was enjoying what I was watching, as I've maybe been at too many pains to state in this podcast so far. And I did think it'd be great to have Salah back, but oh God, where's he going to play? I can't be asked to stress out about this, but I guess a week from now we'll have a clearer picture of what that might look like.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I don't genuinely. I've got no idea one way or the other. It wouldn't surprise me if someone was being opportunistic themselves in another league that maybe wanted to see if they could force Salah out of Liverpool, and it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool accepted a bid as well, if it was good money that they deemed acceptable, because they might just not want the problem. It's one of those, and I think once you've had that big hoo-ha with somebody, and anyone who's had a girlfriend and got back with them, after a while you realise that the problem still fucking existed. This is why you split up in the first place. It's just one of those things, isn't it? You know what I mean? And Salah and Slot might have that sort of thing.
I know which girl you're talking about.
There was a few.
But there was definitely one in particular. You're right.
The relationship thing's interesting, not in terms of your relationship.
Let me tell you.
But in terms of their relationship, aside from tactically and how he's going to fit into the system and what we're trying to do, because we forget he took him out of the side for the betterment of the side and to stop us conceding goals and chances. Are we just going to throw him back in now and say all is forgiven, Mo, go and be yourself? Can we afford to carry him like we once were, seemingly, according to a lot of people? So it's going to be really interesting. But again, will Slot and Salah be able to move on?
Is there a hope that he's come back from AFCON finally and he's gone, God, it's hard work being like the main man. I actually wouldn't mind having some,
Mo Salah.
Maybe yeah. This is really hard. This actually, you know what? I'll take a bit of 75 minutes here, 60. I know it's wild, isn't it? My thing is, and again, this is the nature of football versus how it lives in your head or in Football Manager or whatever. We would be massively, staggeringly improved by having Mohamed Salah available to us. Whether he's precipitously fallen off or not. The fact is, he's still brilliant. He's still at least as good as Bukayo Saka, to quote Chris Pajak, who is the best player in the world according to Arsenal.
He's only got one more goal in the league this season than Wirtz.
Yeah, who? Saka,
I think.
Is that your new comparison, though?
You know what? I said it on a deep dive a few weeks ago. I was like, I reckon that Wirtz will get as many goals and assists as Saka this season when he just got his first. And I think he's like maybe 2 combined goals and assists behind him now.
Really?
In the league, yeah. He's got 3 and 5, I think, Wirtz, hasn't he?
Less limps.
He's got, I think we said this last week, was it 7 goal contributions in 10 or 11, which is now 8 in one more, whichever it was. So, yeah, it's good. Since those 2 terrible defeats against Forest and PSV, which he wasn't involved in, he's basically just been fucking brilliant. Anyway, not who we're talking about. As much as I would love to just talk about him because he's the only good thing at the moment. The Salah thing, if Mo Salah can come in and he can accept a diminished role. No, I know, but this is we were laughing, but that's it.
Just
have that right at the action front of it, right, Mo? You can come in if you accept it. Mo? It's gone.
The only thing I can say is maybe you're aiming for this. It might be nice to step into a team where the players are just better around him, which means that he might get some better chances, or they're not just relying on him to do absolutely everything, although he has done that for us for many years. I could tell.
I don't know whether Liverpool's long-term plan is to buy more super pacey wingers and give us.
Should be. Fucking should be.
Yeah.
They're never a bad idea, pacey wingers.
No.
Are they?
Or is the idea to still to have creativity, be more narrow, and have your pace come from your full-backs? I think, if it's that, I think Salah can work in that. He still has to work. He's still going to have to press and tear around and do whatever. But I could see, you don't need Salah to be stretching the play for you because Frimpong can do that down the right-hand side. Salah just drifting in a little bit more and being quick one-touch and creativity and playing some through balls and then looking to make short runs off the shoulder of the last man. Let Wirtz pick you out for a bit. I could see that working for us. But I know you laughed at, and honestly, but that's if he laughs at that, then he's just not gonna. Liverpool will have to sell him. Because he's just going to be a fucking massive distraction and aside. If he expects to come back in, and now it's definitely now last season, having had half a season of being nowhere near the level. And yes, okay, the performances haven't had an uptick, but at least we've stopped losing games of football. I can't see a world where all of a sudden we revert back. Because we said it before, we haven't got the players to play last season's football anymore. We haven't. Because Salah's not Salah, and we don't own Trent Alexander-Arnold and Luis Diaz, so you can't do last season's footy because you've got worse players trying to do it. So, what does he want? And I really hope he just says, "Fuck it, okay, find me a move in the summer, but I'm just going to come in." Because as much as this, like, Liverpool should respect Salah, Salah needs to respect Liverpool. Liverpool he's gotten Liverpool up, but Liverpool have fucking gotten him up as well. Liverpool brought him in, and Liverpool are as responsible for his rise as he is responsible for Liverpool's rise. Let's be fair, probably more in Liverpool's favour. So, yeah, it's not going to go the way you want. You're not necessarily going to go. You're not going to go out with the golden boot, mate. But he could leave on a high. He could come in and do a massive job for the team. Yeah. We'd be well better if we had. Imagine saying it's you bring him on or Chiesa on. And I like Chiesa, but imagine bringing Salah into that game. And then we go back to that fear factor. I don't care whether we think he's been in a hard season. There's no defender in the Premier League who's not shitting his pants with Mo Salah coming on the pitch.
There's not a doubt in my mind that Liverpool, honestly, etc., should be trying and willing to bend and flex and do everything in their power, if indeed it takes that, to reintegrate Mo Salah, to get a version of him on the pitch between now and in the season. Absolutely sure. What that looks like, I'm not entirely sure. Not in terms of minutes, but in terms of on the pitch. Because seemingly, Arne Slot, whether we like it or not, made the decision after PSV that Salah was, if not entirely, but certainly a large proportion of the problem, because he was the one that came out. Nobody else, everyone else got saved. The other players not performing around him, and they carried on playing. Salah was the one. Whether it be right or wrong, he was the player that he decided to drop for 3 games on the spin. So he was clearly not happy with whatever Salah was doing. Is that all gone away now? Are we at a point now whereby we're all happy with our situation and we can just seamlessly drop Salah back in? I'm not entirely sure.
Even if there's Salah never comes back better from AFCON, and he's got the World Cup on the horizon as well. I just, maybe the World Cup actually might be a positive, and it might give him a sort of lift. My general feeling is I always feel that players are essential to the countries, never quite are as flat out in the build-up to exactly. Because again, they come every 4 years or whatever. It's
human nature, that is.
Pinnacle sometimes of careers, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Can I also just say, if there's one person who every single season where Liverpool have been horrendous and has came out and said this isn't good enough and I'm going to make sure we get back there, it has been Mo Salah. So I also have no doubt that if he does come back, then he will put that aside, and he might think, I've only got half a season left here, but I'm going to make sure that I'm remembered for always putting Liverpool back to where they need to be, and like leaving it so that when the next person does come in, it's not like he's like set it up for that person to then walk in and have a part in a squad where Liverpool might not be challenging this season. Well, they're not, but but next season, he's kind of, throughout the last end of the season, he's been a big reason as to why everyone started to gel and understand each other a bit more and just hold better standards. He's got the one who holds the standards.
He's got a chance to, I think, look, his legacy is secured as far as one of the all-timers of the Premier League. But as we've seen with like Steven Gerrard, you can tarnish that with what happens in the later stages sometimes, and countless other players in a variety of different ways. He has got an opportunity now for the back end of this season, to whatever it requires, do a job that's required of you for this team, and maybe it requires a changed role, maybe a change of ambitions for you. But I've said before, I don't like us doing those big send-offs for footballers at the end of the season. I think we need to get back to being a bit more ruthless in how we deal with footy players. I think it's become a bit too sentimental. But like, you can't do that for fucking Origi and Keita and Wijnaldum and all of them who've all been brilliant in their own ways, mostly. You've got to give Salah's got to leave on a high, hasn't he? You know what I mean? He's got to be able to leave with his head held high. I want him to get that full send-off.
There's ways, isn't there? The send-off could be in fucking a European final.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
That's what Salah's. That's what Salah looks at. He looks at the trophies at the end of the season. He'll come back and he'll go, "There's 2 up for grabs here. Let's go and fight for them."
Yeah. Just briefly then, Chiesa and Jones, Dan, both linked with exit. The Curtis Jones one, absolutely, because it's being. I've heard it said that Tottenham are interested or were interested, but I also heard a full-blown rumour that it was much more than that. And if Liverpool have got any hand in that, it staggered me to even hear a rumour that Liverpool would consider letting Curtis Jones go, particularly now. Chiesa, I get it. Everyone gets it right. You know, he's a good player and good teams would be interested in him, and that's an interesting conversation for him and for Liverpool. But the Jones stuff would be mad.
Yeah, Jones is a non-starter, isn't it? I think beyond now, and I know that might split opinion somewhat in amongst the fan base, but for me it's an absolute non-starter, for a variety of different reasons.
Is it a non-starter for you January?
Just full stop.
Yeah.
Full stop.
I think
don't sell Curtis Jones.
You don't win leagues or, you know, be able to try and be on for a double in terms of the Champions League and the Premier League season upon season without having really good squad players. Curtis Jones coming in, and look, a lot of people, I've said squad player because a lot of people see him as that because there's such a divided opinion on him. But the whole point is, you mentioned it earlier, we look at the bench and we're like, oof, who have we got to bring on here? You need good standard squad players to be able to dish out minutes to across the whole season. And for me, Curtis Jones is a really good squad player. I enjoy him when he's at his best, where he's really driving us forward. And a lot of people hate how in control of a football he is, but he never hides from a football, let me tell you that.
I've watched so many bang average footballers get dispossessed at the drop of a hat. And it's such an underrated skill that he's got like that. I know it dwells on it too long.
It'd be really helpful at times as well in certain circumstances.
Someone's got to be able to hold the ball up in this team.
There's been certain games whereby we've been indebted to his ability to do that actually at times. So not for me.
So that's why I think he's a non-starter, because no matter what you like, whether you think he's a good enough player to start in that, you know, first 11 squad, you need a really good players on the subs bench to be able to attack these big competitions that you want to win, and I put him in that as well.
Right now, I'd let McAllister go before him based on what I'm seeing. This
likewise as well. I think again on the pitch stuff, what he is to the football club, what the football club means for him. And I know that's pie in the sky for a lot of people and sound, but I think that's quite important to have and to have within the realms of Liverpool. But yeah, not just like. He's shown time and time again that he is good enough to warrant and hold down a first team place. Not in every single Liverpool side that's existed, but more often than not, when he's fit and available, he's in that conversation. Like, is he going to be a headline act in those Liverpool teams? Maybe not all the time, but my word, is he invaluable at times as well. So yeah, it's certainly not a Premier League rival.
I honestly think he'd be the best. He'd be the best player midfielder in some of our late 90s teams, early noughties teams. And the standard at Liverpool has just gone up so much over the years that he looks a bit more of a squad player now. But even that's a bit of a, is he a squad player?
He's certainly not out of place.
Not in the last couple of months.
What he can do is cover every midfield position to a high level.
Yeah. In different formats, in different systems.
He must be such a clever footballer. Obviously, you've got that reach to the academy as well, which you say it's not that important to a lot of people, and I get that. It's fucking important to everybody in the academy. Every single kid who goes in there from 4 years old, seeing Curtis Jones in the first team is someone that proves the pathway exists. And that's huge to those people and the unders and everything else.
And for kids on the street, you know what I mean? Kids growing up, he's having Scousers in the team, and not because it's like you've got to do it. Like, you know, he's not a fucking competition winner.
No,
he's not like you've got to have a nominated Scouse player in the team, and it doesn't really matter who they are. You're dead right.
You should do it.
But
every team should.
Genuinely, but like he would be there on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reality of it. You know, that's how genuinely good he is. I think
he deserves to be where he is.
Yeah, and also he's fucking homegrown.
Yeah,
we haven't got any homegrown players in this squad. All these players, and we keep going out missing out on targets. Don't make your squad building more difficult by that, unless there's some mad PSR problems that are just like careening towards us.
How old's Curtis now as well?
25.
25, yes. So yeah, no. Why? Why would we even entertain that conversation? With Chiesa, it's difficult now, I think, because of the numbers game. You know what I mean? And where we're at in terms of who's available to us and who's not around. The Isak thing complicates it. Ungamoa and just how ready or how willing Arne Slot is to use him is probably a conversation
We've missed the boat on the Semenyo thing. But, like, as an example of that, Chiesa, it feels to me like the only way we're going to do any business in that front line is if Chiesa and or Salah move. But now I'm not sure who the hell I mean, there's been a few names sort of tentatively linked and what have you, but
Chiesa is the one.
Yeah. And Chiesa would be the obvious one because he's on good money. That's a consideration. There's no takers. I mean, Juventus want to do the old Serie A diddle of like, no, loan with an option to buy. Promise we'll buy him. You're not going to buy him. We're not doing this. We remember Alberto Aquilani, everyone. Remember Mario Balotelli.
We can see you've got your fingers crossed behind your back, you dickheads.
Yeah. You went after you finished saying it. We heard you do the evil laugh, Juventus. So yeah, you know, if they got a fee for him, that might impact things. But yeah, anywho, look, we were going to chat Mark Gay, but we run out of time. We'll do that on the next show, which is the Bias Football / Transfer Pod, if there was more transfers. Come and join us over on the Redmen Plus app, if you would be so kind. So yeah, we're going to do Everton beating Villa. I mean, by the way, we closed the gap on Villa by a point at the weekend.
Yeah, everyone behind us closed the gap on us as well.
By 2.
Hey, only if you're looking behind you.
It's one of them weeks, isn't it?
What are you now, Paul, behind Villa?
I don't know, mate.
Unbiased is one of them.
Oh, come on, you're the one looking forwards. How many points behind now?
Listen, you don't want to do your own editing too much. I'm just stating a fact. It wasn't incorrect. I did not lie. I just said we closed the gap by a point. We're going to do a bit more on the Manchester derby over on there as well, which was surprisingly good fun, and a few other bits and pieces as well. So do join us. If you want to download the Redmen Plus app, you can head to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store and get all of our content in one place. And we hope to see you over there too. Right, thank you so much. See you all soon.